The morning light cast long shadows over the buildings of the industrial district. Within these hulking structures, a symphony of mechanical noise played out day after day, the grinding of gears and the whirring of machinery creating a cacophony that had become as familiar as birdsong to its inhabitants. The largest building, a glass factory, hummed with activity. Within this hive of industry, a man named Ron was beginning his workday. Ron was a man of age 52, with hair a dull gray and a face lined by the ravages of time. His figure, slightly hunched, was a testament to his years spent laboring in the factory. "Hey, Ron," a voice called out over the noise. It was Mark, a forklift operator with a loud voice and an easy smile. Same old, huh?" Ron gave a small chuckle, his eyes crinkling at the corners as he did so. "You know it, Mark." "Same old." Mark nodded, a knowing smile on his face. The rest of their exchange was swallowed by the noise of the factory. This was their ritual, a small exchange that marked the beginning of their shared workday. Ron's job at the factory was one that demanded precision and dedication. He was responsible for checking the quality of glass products that came off the production line, a task he had done so for nearly 30 years. Each piece of glass, every item, had to be examined under the scrutiny of his trained gaze. Any blemish, any imperfection, and the piece was cast aside, deemed unfit for sale. For Ron, the routine was comforting. There was something reassuring about the pattern of his days, the rhythm of the factory and the familiarity of his coworkers. But lately, the monotony of his life began to weigh on him. The same faces, the same jokes, the same lunchbox. It was all becoming a little too predictable, a little too boring. In the past, he had been a Marine, a man of action. His tales from overseas missions were well known among his friends. But now, those days seemed distant, as if they belonged to another man, a different Ron. His once vibrant hair had turned gray. His body was no longer as sturdy, and his once sharp gaze seemed dulled by the endless inspection of glass. A sudden idea took root in his mind as he inspected yet another piece of glass. A change, something to break the monotony, something to breathe life back into his mundane existence. As the idea unfolded, he found himself smiling, a spark of excitement igniting within him. It was time for a change. It was time for Ron's new look. A sense of determination guided Ron's steps as he stepped off the factory floor that afternoon. He headed straight to a nearby barbershop, a small establishment tucked away on a bustling street. The signboard creaked gently in the breeze as he pushed the door open, the familiar tinkle of the entrance bell announcing his arrival. "Ron, is that you?" The barber, a stout, jovial man named Tony, greeted him with a broad smile. "I haven't seen you in ages. What can I do for you today?" "Hey, Tony," Ron greeted back, settling into the worn-out but comfortable barber's chair. "I need a change, a haircut, something that'll, I don't know, make me look younger." Tony studied Ron's reflection in the mirror for a moment, a thoughtful look on his face. "I think I've got just the thing," he finally said, reaching for a pair of shiny scissors and a comb. Ron watched as his gray hair fell in tufts onto the tiled floor. The buzz of the electric razor hummed in his ears as Tony worked his magic. The transformation wasn't immediate, but with each snip and trim, Ron could see a younger version of himself starting to appear in the mirror. When the cutting was done, Tony turned to Ron with a bottle of hair dye in his hands. "Ever considered going dark, Ron?" he asked, a twinkle in his eyes. "Trust me, it'll take off years." "Let's do it, Tony," Ron agreed, excitement coursing through his veins. As the dark dye set in, Ron began to see a dramatic change. The gray was replaced by a deep chestnut brown, and the new haircut gave him a fresh, youthful appearance. By the time Tony was done, Ron looked at least a decade younger. "Wow, Tony," Ron admired himself in the mirror, unable to hide his grin. "That's the spirit, Ron." Tony clapped his shoulder, clearly pleased with his work. "A new look for a new beginning, eh?" Feeling revitalized, Ron thanked Tony and exited the barbershop. There was a new spring in his step, a newfound confidence that made him stand a little taller. Ron was ready to show off his new look, ready for the world to see him anew. Little did he know then, the chain of events his transformation was about to set off. Upon returning home, Ron walked straight up to the old family computer perched on a small desk in the corner of his living room. The hum of the computer booting up was a familiar sound. But what he was about to do was entirely new territory. With a few clicks, he found himself on the homepage of Facebook. He had heard about the site from his coworkers and had seen it on his wife's laptop screen a few times. But he had never considered joining until now. "Time to show off this new look," Ron murmured to himself, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. The decision to create a Facebook account wasn't just about the change in his physical appearance. It was about reclaiming a piece of his past, a part of his identity that he felt he had lost over the years. As he started filling out the information for his profile, he paused when he came to the username section. After a moment of thought, he typed in Marina Shooterone, 111. It was a nod to his past, his time as a Marine, a shooter. The number 111 was his old Marine unit number. It was a username that brought a smile to his face. Next was the profile picture. He navigated his way to a folder hidden deep in the computer archives, filled with photos from his Marine days. After a moment of scrolling, his eyes landed on a picture of himself in full uniform, his younger face beaming with pride and confidence. It was a perfect match for his new username. "Perfect," he muttered, clicking on the photo to upload it. The process was easier than he thought. With a few more clicks, his Facebook profile was complete. Looking at the profile photo, he felt a pang of nostalgia for the young soldier he once was. But there was also a thrill, an excitement about this new venture. As his new profile picture, an old photo of himself in uniform, loaded onto the screen, he felt a strange sense of accomplishment. His old self, infused with his new look, was now out there for the world to see. As he sat back, admiring his handiwork, Facebook's algorithms started working their magic, suggesting friends for Ron to add. Among the suggestions, a young, beautiful woman in her mid-20s caught his eye. A new adventure was about to begin for Ron, one that would forever change his life.